Joining us film festival, and we are talking about the feature film Trap. And no one else is better to talk to about this film than Anthony Curry. He is the director, writer, star, editor, producer, you name it, he did it. We have Anthony with us. Anthony, thank you for joining us and congratulations.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you taking the time out to talk with me.
Same here. I appreciate you making this film, telling this story, and taking time to talk to us. So let's get right into it. And can you tell everybody a little bit about Trap?
Trap is like an amalgamation of stories about kids from Asbury Park, sort of based on kids that I like, violent street kids that I grew up with. So it's I wanted to make something that was like a liquid narrative, like something that felt like tonal. So the film is almost like a tapestry, definitely like tonal, sort of like a neo expressionistic way of looking at this like underground of crime stories in Asbury Park.
Wow, damn. Liquid narrative? Did you say liquid narrative? What was that beautiful term you just said?
Yeah, liquid narrative. Sort of
Oh
like
my gosh.
I like I take pieces, I like kind of shoot the world. Like I'm a very greedy
Yeah.
director, so I kind of shoot everything and then like we kind of like document, like put all these chemicals into a bottle and kind of shake it up and then like document the explosion
Okay.
almost.
I could totally tell you are such a visual artist just by the way you're talking. I can't wait to get into how you did this because that's definitely part of my questions, how you shot this. But first, I want to ask you about writing it because you wrote this when you were 17, right?
Yeah, well, I
You first
started when I
started
was
when you
like
were 17.
16, I think, and
Wow.
then I finished it probably by the time I was 17.
Okay, but then like it took 5 years of kind of going back to the script and editing it before you guys filmed it?
No, we shot it over like 7 years. So there was like an initial
Oh,
shoot for
wow.
like maybe a month or 2 months, and then we kind of broke for a little bit. Like life got a little murky, and like with a movie like Trap, I use like a lot of real people, like
Mhm.
rather than actors. So like trying to wrangle like a lot of the people in was difficult. So it kind of took a long time.
Wow.
It's like it's a movie filled with like real criminals, so
Yeah.
it's sort of like
Some actors, some people from the streets,
right.
people that you known and grown up with are in this film?
Right. Yeah. A lot of some of the people that it's based on too is,
Wow.
sort
So, I mean, what was that like? What was it like going up to these people, or maybe you're just hanging out with them and being like, "Hey, can you be in this film that I basically wrote inspired by you? Can you play?" Like, what was that like?
well, I was living kind of a wild life for a little bit, around a lot of characters, very like interesting people, like beautiful people. But so I was kind of writing it in the house where it's supposed to take place. Um, and yeah, it took a while to make. It was like definitely like everybody put their soul into it, and it was
Mm,
definitely an
yeah.
interesting film.
Did you know when you wrote it and you were like, "All right, I'm going to make this film." Were you aware that it was going to be like a whole 7-year process? It was going to be a feature film. Did you know how it was going to look like when you guys started this?
Nah, I didn't think it was gonna take 7 years. I thought I was gonna like do it in like a couple months, maybe 6 months to edit it or something. And then there were a lot of variables that slowed the production down, and it was like produced basically by myself. So like
Right.
you run out of money, and then you got to get more, and then working all these odd jobs to like pay for this
Mhm.
flip.
So you talked about before the liquid narrative, that phrase I love.
Hmm.
And I noticed it right away watching it. It's not like a linear film. It's like an art piece. It feels like poetry, like it's kind of snippets of moments and it kind of sounds like poetry with the music and the voiceovers and the visuals. It's so interesting and different in its own way. So did that happen in the editing room? Did it happen while you were filming it that you're like, "Oh, maybe I should do this?" Or like, I don't even know what kind of how to even ask this. Like how did you make it what it was? Was it in the editing room or while you were filming?
No, it was kind of written like how I was gonna shoot it. Like I kind of give everybody cameras. Like I kind of just wanted to shoot the worlds and then
Mhm.
kind of like make sense of it in the edit. So I, but there were like the story was there, but like sort of these vignettes of life or like these slices of life, have I been calling it? It's like that was just stuff like you couldn't really try to make up. It kind of just like I call it like a mistakist art form where sometimes like the mistakes are sometimes like the best part of the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. So
So like a mix
you
of both. I would say it was like 70% scripted and the rest was like
Okay.
in
Wow.
in the edit.
And you lived this. You were writing it in the home that you were living in, and then you knew these people. Was that difficult for you writing something so personal and close to home?
Uh, no, it's kind of easy because when you when you're writing characters that you know, it's like I know their cadences, I know how they talk, so it was sort of easy. And a lot of them are playing a version of themselves, so it it definitely was interesting trying to take like people that never been in a film before, never even like thought of it, and like putting them into these situations where it's like there's murky waters. It was kind of dangerous. It felt danger,
Mhm.
like you could sense the danger on the set almost.
That's exact I wanna ask you about that too, because there was a lot of scenes that I'm like, "They filmed this in public?"
Yeah,
Like, I know that it would be probably difficult looking at that and being like, "Oh, they're shooting a film," rather than like, "Okay, maybe we should call someone because it's intense."
right.
So what was it like filming on the streets? Did you guys run into a lot of issues?
Uh, yeah, we had to like kind of like try to avoid like the cops a lot.
Yeah.
Uh, that was difficult, because a lot of them are like kind of real criminals. So we kind of had
Mhm.
to like, no, it was
Keep it
it was
low
great
key.
though. And plus we know everybody. We're from here, so it's like we kind of know everybody. So it was sort of
Uh-huh.
like, it's just like every day, like the store we shot in was like the store I would go to, get in Arizona. It's like
Right.
everybody. So it was sort of like yeah, it was
Mm.
I feel like it was important. It's like an important story to tell. And it like
Absolutely.
had to be told in this like sort of like visceral, erratic way. Like the movie was chaotic to make, and then when you
Mhm.
watch the movie, it's like almost chaotic to watch. Like somebody told me, it's almost like you don't watch Trap, like Trap watches you. And I always like
Ooh.
laughed at that. I was like, that was cool.
I like that. I like that very much. So, like, what are you hoping audience get out of this? What is the message you're hoping comes across from this film?
Uh, I've never been like a director that ever really wanted to say anything. Like I don't really have
Mhm.
a message, or I don't really have anything to say. Uh,
Well, you
but
definitely have stuff to say.
right.
I'll tell you
Well,
that. Like, this story says a lot, but I know what you mean. Like, you didn't go out there being like, "I
right, with
want
like a
this
certain
message."
like I didn't want to make like an expose on gang
Right.
violence or anything. I didn't want to like tell like I don't really have, like any like political sense or like anything I want to
Mhm.
say in that regard. It was more like the residue under the surface, like almost all these ideas and images and things came to me, and it all just starts with images really, and then you kind of
Mhm.
base off of that. But no, I kind of want people to experience the movie themselves, because like you might be able to see things in the film that like I couldn't see, and
Right.
like I might even be able to learn from it. Like sure, I wrote it, directed it, all that stuff, but you might see more than I could see.
Very subjective indeed. And I
Yeah,
like that you're open to that. So, as we said, you were the cinematographer, the star, the editor, the director. You wore all the hats.
yeah, it was a
So,
nightmare. It
it
was
was a nightmare.
impossible.
Okay, I want to ask you, yeah, what was that process like, and which hat did you like wearing the least, and which hat was your favorite hat to wear?
Uh, I do like acting, but I don't like acting in my own stuff, and I kind of learned that, because and
Uh,
I'm shooting it, so like a lot of the time I was like pulling focus on my own face,
I was wondering how you did it because you were
and there
in a
was like a
shot, and it was. I was like, what?
yeah,
How is
I
he
mean
the
sometimes
DP and he's in the shoes?
I would get operators, I would get camera
Uh huh.
operators to come out and like help certain days, but sometimes it was just me, so like I had to
Right.
kind of figure it out. But my least favorite, I mean, probably writing, directing, editing. Editing is probably my favorite because it's like, it's just me and the edit.
Yeah.
That's probably the one I look forward to the most, because you're like
So
alone
acting
in
and
it.
editing.
Well, I don't like acting in my own stuff. That was kind of because
Right.
you can't. It's hard to judge your own performance. So it was sort of. I would
Yeah.
say like, yeah, directing and editing. Those are probably my favorites.
So we talked a little bit about before this if you're working on any projects now. And I don't know if you want to disclose that in this interview, what you're working on now. And if you don't want to talk about it, I'd love just to know what stories do you gravitate towards telling? Because this one's very personal to you, but it
Right.
seems like what you're working on now is very different than this story. So, like, Why do you love telling stories? And yeah, what gravitates you to write them?
Um, yeah, I kind of just want to tell movies from. I feel like a lot of the time movies are told from the outside in rather than the inside out. So anytime I get an idea, I just want it to be told from the inside out rather than
Mm.
outside. But yeah, I want to do something different. Like I want to be kind of fluent with genre, I guess you could say. So I don't want to ever try to make the same movie twice. So the next movie is going to be like a dark, degenerate comedy about some degenerate horse gamblers from New Jersey.
Well, I'm looking
That's
forward to
all I can
that.
say. I don't want to go. I don't want to
Yeah,
go.
don't get too into it. I thank you for giving us that little tea that was spilled. Thank you for that. And I
Yeah,
love to hear that they're from New Jersey. And I hope that means you're going to be submitting it to Garden State Film Festival when it's done.
absolutely, absolutely.
So, last question for you is: how does it feel having Trap screen at Garden State Film Festival? It was born in Asbury Park. It will be
Nice.
screening in Asbury Park at the 21st annual year. So, how does it feel having Trap here?
Yeah, it's gonna be cathartic. You know, it's like it was like it's really a dream come true because we've been talking about like showing it in the play, and I was just like, and then this hit, and we got selected, and I was like, oh my god! And it's up for the Kevin Smith Homegrown Award, so that was like,
Yes,
and then to
future.
hear that too, I
Yes.
was like, oh my god, it's great.
Oh my gosh. Well, congratulations. I'm sure it will be a cathartic and like amazing experience. And I'm assuming you will be there because
Yeah, I'll be
yeah,
there. I
yeah,
and a lot of the cast and crew because they're all from here, so they have no excuse not to come. A lot of those cats don't leave the hood, so like now they have no excuse because all they
we're
got to
bringing it
do
to them. They
they got
gotta
to
come.
cross the tracks and go to the Berkeley on the 25th. That's all they got to do.
Oh man. Well, thank you, Anthony, to you and to everyone involved in making Trap. You guys did a wonderful job and created something really beautiful. And I'm really excited for our audiences at Garden State Film Festival to watch this.
Thank you so much for taking the time. Take care. All right.
Thank you. Let me tell everyone quickly how they can see Trap. It will be playing Saturday, March 25th in Berkeley Hotel in the Continental Room in the film block 8:45 to 11 p.m. So Saturday night, Berkeley Hotel. Definitely check it out. Maybe meet Anthony. And thank you again, Anthony, for talking to us.
Thank you. Be
We'll see you
there.
at the
Be
festival.
square. See you then. Peace.